welcome everybody to a new episode of the Four Wide Salute podcast. I am Casey, your host, and pardon my voice, I did spend the weekend outside at Georgetown, hooting and hollering, carrying on with everybody, and now I can barely speak. But wow, what a weekend it was. Let's start off with Georgetown. Friday night, I believe the number ended up being 213 cars that were there. 5-division show, plus they had the big block practice and 602 crate practice. Got off to a slow start. The track was super wet, super slippery. It took a little bit longer than normal to pack that in and get it ran in. But once it got underway, I thought it was a great show. To cap it off, the small block feature on Friday night, the last lap was, it's going to be hard to beat that lap as far as entertainment value. But coming to the white flag, Laubach had the lead, Mahaney was second, and Stewie had just caught them in third. And Laubach went around in 1 and 2, and a lap car was there holding his line. As far as I'm concerned, I believe it's the leader's job to go around that lap car. I mean, how can the lap car know where the leader's running at the time? But that's up for debate. But so Laubach kind of got held up by the lap car. Mahaney got underneath him and snuck by him on the bottom coming out of 2. Stu was right there on the outside of both of them. Coming into turn 3, Mahaney had the advantage, and the lap car was still there, and ended up pushing up a little bit. And I think Mahaney was under the impression that Stu was going to end up catching the lap car, pushing up the track. But once Kyle Weiss corrected himself, he ended up going back down to the bottom, which pinched Mahaney. And Stu just let her eat coming out of 4 and went around both of them for the win. Hell of exciting finish, like I said. Saturday at Georgetown, 53 big blocks, I believe it was, 53 or 54, and they had about 72 to 74 crates in the house. Insane amount of cars, once again, including the other divisions of the card. But again, track was a little heavy and slippery to start the night. Took a little bit longer to pack it in than normal. But again, once I got underway, I thought it was a pretty good show. Heat races I thought were a little bit more enjoyable than the feature. Feature seemed to be a little bit of a one-laner on the bottom kind of thing. But to argue that point, your winner, Matt Shepard, did start 19th. So through a couple of wrecks, a couple of cautions, picking his way through the field. I mean, he did run down Stu and ended up winning over Stu. He got second and Mahaney got third. So Stu and Mahaney had a hell of a weekend. First and second for Stu, and Mahaney ended up with a second and third. Nothing to be ashamed about. On to the other events that did occur. Friday, the Outlaws were at the MAG. Ended up Sheldon Haudenschild with the win. And Cochrane Motor Speedway had a super late model Gobbler 100 makeup event, which ended up going to Brandon Overton. Saturday, Lincoln again ran with Danny Dietrich picking up the win over Chad Trout and Matt Campbell. And Port also did run their opener, which we saw Lance Deweese, of course, take victory there over Kerry Madsen and Dylan Cisney. So good to see Kerry Madsen getting off to a pretty good start in the Barshinger 24. And the super late models were also there, with the win going to Trevor Feathers over Tyler Bear and Ross Robinson. The Outlaws also ran again on Saturday at the Rev, and that one went to David Gravel over Brad Sweet and Donnie Schatz. Which takes us to today, Sunday. I did not venture out to the Grove. I would have liked to. I mean, just to be at the opener, be at another event, another race. I had to go get prepared for Big Diamond season. Went up to the track to get some stuff done in the booth. Get ready for everybody to be ready for practice in a couple of weeks. But my wife and all of my friends did go to the Grove. They had a bit of an interesting dilemma going on with the Uke tires, or the implement tires, however you want to refer to them, going into turn 3 along the bottom. So if anybody's been to the Grove and sits on Beer Hill, you can get a perfect view of this whole thing where, The Ute tires do run on the bottom of 3, but they also stop for the entrance to the pits. And from what I'm gathering, the tires were out further onto the track than they are normally. And the Grove is known, absolutely notorious, for guys running the bottom. And they do pinch that off going into 3 as much as possible on the bottom. And from what I'm gathering, again, that was sticking out a little bit further than normal. Robbie Kendall clipped it, junked his car. Austin Bishop clipped it, junked his car in hot laps. This is all in hot laps. And then Steve Buckwalter must have done the same thing and actually went out and picked up the tire and chucked it, pretty much voicing his opinion for what he thinks of the tire. But in the end, after all was said and done, little Freddie Rimmer took home the win over Justin Peck and Lance DeWeese. Notably, Brandon Reamer, who is now in the 1W at the Grove on a Friday, first start in his car, coming home in 4th. That is really good to see. Again, someone different, someone who puts in the work, puts in the time, having a good finish. But this weekend coming up, we got Selinsgrove for the Short Track Super Series on Saturday, and then that's going to roll over into Port Royal on Sunday, both afternoon start times. This will be my first time seeing the modifieds at Selinsgrove. I heard it is badass, and I cannot wait. And of course, I think it's 3 or 4 times that the modifieds now have been at Port with the Short Track Super Series. Those races have all been pretty phenomenal. So cannot wait to get back to that. And the only thing I have showing, obviously Lincoln, Port, Grove, they're all running now on a weekly basis. They're going to have their beginning of their season taking off. Outlaw Sprint Cars are running Friday at Cotton Bowl and Saturday also at Cotton Bowl Speedway in Texas. Late models, I don't know that they are running anything series-wise, tour-wise. But I'm sure there's events going on somewhere down south for super late model guys. But I will say this on behalf of the podcast. Did have some very interesting conversations with some very interesting people this past weekend when I was down in Georgetown. Let me tell you, if all ends as has been discussed, there are going to be some fantastic and incredible guests and interviews on this show. Stay tuned for more details, but the proverbial ball is rolling downhill, so it is going to get better as we pick up speed. And as always, please hit the like and share button on the Facebook posts and on your podcast platforms. Please give a 5-star rating. It is much appreciated. But without further ado, we're moving on to this week's episode, this week's interview with the new driver of the 357 Norm Hansell owned modified on Fridays at Big Diamond, Saturdays at Grandview, your 2020 New Egypt track champion, Danny Bouc. So enjoy the show, and I will catch you guys next week. So with me today, I have the 2020 New Egypt Speedway Modified Champion, Danny Bouc. Danny, a busy man this off-season. You were definitely part of the newsmakers in the off-season. First thing I got to ask you is, how did the whole deal with the 357 come together?
Yeah, it was not really a last-minute deal, but I wasn't expecting it, and I had kind of already set some plans in with my cars, and Jay called me and asked me if I wanted to drive their stuff, and I was kind of in a bad spot because I had made some commitments already with my own cars, and we kind of started talking back and forth, and I kind of hit him with, I can do Friday nights. My Fridays are open, and I was kind of expecting him to say, we're not really, we want someone for both nights, and he said, we'll do that, and maybe then we'll find somebody else for Saturday nights. And the more I thought about it at that point, it was like, we might as well do the whole deal, and it just makes the most sense for them and for me. It would have been too much work trying to race for them on Friday nights and run my own car Saturdays. We had planned on running my 32 car at Bridgeport, but I talked with my sponsors and they were cool with me, kind of going and doing that. And it's definitely going to be exciting. I think I'm really excited about the opportunity. It's awesome, and it's been really good working with them guys so far. So I'm super excited about it, and hopefully we'll have lots of success.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, workers in the industry and fans, were kind of all speculating what was going to happen because, of course, shit rolls downhill, and we heard the news about Strunk, the 126, and then stuff started to kind of pop up here and there about, well, not in the 15 either. And then the Dwayne thing kind of came out of left field. That happened all in a matter of like an hour, and everyone's like, what the hell? And, I think a lot of people were speculating Norm trying to get Alex. And I got to be honest, I don't think anyone ever mentioned your name as a possible driver for that car. But knowing him and knowing you, I can see this working out really well for both of you guys.
Yeah, like I said, just from us kind of talking, and I've talked with Norm a couple times now. It's funny because I've called him 3 or 4 times throughout my career, just as a hey, I'm here type of thing, and when he's been looking for drivers, and knowing that I'm probably not ready for someone like him and that type of equipment yet. And this time around he called me, and and I was like, crap, I have so much stuff kind of juggling around right now, and I just kind of had some other things going on, and I was like, I really can't commit to the Saturday night thing. I said I can do Fridays, and like I said, it all worked out really good, and I'm excited about it. No matter where I raced this year, I was looking for a change. It was really nice winning the championship at New Egypt last year. It was kind of something I've been working on for a while. So now's the best time of all, just to kind of branch out and try to become a better driver and run at some different tracks. I have quite a bit of experience at Diamond, but not as much at Grandview. So it'll be good to team up with them guys and try to, like I said, win some races and run up front.
Yeah, and I think that it seems like the new thing now with the growth of the short track super series, it seems that drivers that are competing on a regular basis with Deo are now trying to change up their weekly programs and where they run, trying to get more experience, whether it be a different track condition or just a different venue altogether. It seems like that's kind of the new thing, as opposed to, years ago, you had guys that just always ran this place, always ran that place. It was kind of a constant. And now it seems like, I'm not gonna say like an outlaw type schedule because you guys are gonna run for points, but it seems like that's the new thing to switch up where you're running on a yearly basis almost.
Yeah, the level of competition, especially in the Deo series, probably tripled, quadrupled over the last even 2-3 years. Pretty much since I started running it, I've seen like a massive influx of high competition in that series. And I think you're 100% correct. Guys are really trying to branch out, build their teams bigger. And even some guys are taking a different approach, like trying to run tracks that allow them to race less so they can do more traveling and stuff like that. It was a big deal for me when Norm called, because my personal team's kind of at a point where I don't think I could grow it anymore on my own, funding wise, and just, trying to get the work done on the cars and have a full-time job myself. And my crew guys, I have a really good crew. Finally, it's taken me 10 years to build, some of these friendships that I've had with my crew guys and really get everybody all on board to be able to do the amount of races that we do. But it's at a point, where it's getting tougher and tougher to do it, and teaming up with someone like Norm and, like I said, Jay, it's going to help me out a bunch. I think just by working with them guys so far, this winter on getting things put together and building them, we seem to work really well together and have a good time. And, they're super good guys to work with, and, they know what's going on. So that makes it, that much easier on a driver like me. I'm used to, I got to build all my cars myself. I'm the one that has most of the brains behind the operation. I make the decisions to the cars. So it'd be really nice having guys like that to rely on, to give me feedback and tell me what I'm doing wrong and tell me what I could be to be better, So I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, and it seems like nowadays a lot more drivers, at least on the local level, are very hands-on. That very, build your own stuff up, do your own sheet metal or shocks or what have you, as opposed to, you get in the bigger series or even up to like a cup level, and a lot of guys don't tinker with things anymore. But it does seem that a lot, it's good to see, especially the younger guys. I'll use Yankowski as an example. I know that, he's on the phone with shock guys in California on the phone, just talking about nonsense. And you wouldn't think to hear that from someone at his age, but I think it's a trend that's changing now. I think a lot of guys are trying to get ahead of the game because everything's so neutral and kind of equal across the board that guys want to get their hands dirty and understand what it is that they're driving.
Yeah, it's really cool. And that's, I have a lot of respect for a lot of these younger guys that are coming up through here running for their own teams. Like you used Alex as an example. That's he's a perfect example for that. It's good to see these guys, not just getting handed a ride and kind of showing up and driving type of. Good to see them, work for their stuff and know what everything's about. And I always grew up like that. My dad bought me my first go-kart when I was 9 years old and pretty much rolled it in the garage and said, there you go. I'll drive it there. It's up to you to figure this stuff out. I had a couple of good people we were working with at the time to kind of rely on. But even at that age, it was like, this is what prep you have to put on your tires, and this is what air pressure you should run. And, if you're going to go to this track, these type of tires. And, so that was always something that I had to do myself. And I looking back, I wouldn't have, I'm really glad my dad kind of did it that way. He was, he's a hardworking guy, so he never really had time to invest in the racing. I was really thankful he did it, the way we did it, because at the point I'm at now is, I feel like I'm ahead of a lot of some of the guys that, are I'm racing against knowledge wise and stuff. You never know everything. And, it's always something you try to, build your notebook and build your knowledge over the years of driving. And it makes it easier, looking back when you do it all yourself. It's not always, the easiest way, but it's, it turns out to be good in the long run.
Well, yeah, it's the notebook. I think that's the key point there is the notebook, because everything's changing constantly with these cars, whether it's, the bodies themselves or the frames or the tires. There's always something changing. And I mean, we all see it and watch, Bicknell and Tio and Troyer and DCAM and all those guys. They're constantly trying to get ahead of each other, which means something's changing, which, the slightest thing on a frame can make the biggest difference on the track. And I think it's about keeping that notebook up to date and as relevant as possible, really.
Yeah, that's where it comes into play. Like I was talking about getting teamed up with, like a bigger team, and when you're at the right, it's got to be time. The timing has to be right, and just getting hooked up with the right people at the right times, and knowing enough to work with those people to get an edge. That's a big deal. Like I said, that's why, this deal with Norm, I feel like came at a really good time for me and for him. Just to freshen both of our teams up and try to be as dominant as possible. I think it's going to be a good combo.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if you exclude the one-off drivers that Norm's had, and we're not going to factor in Max, on a weekly basis, I think you're the youngest driver Norm's had in quite some time. I think a younger guy mixed with a tenured owner, might just be the right combination that both of you are looking for at this point in time.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I see us having very similar attributes. A lot of people look at me when I'm at the racetrack, and this is probably one of the reasons why I don't get very many rides. I'm not out schmoozing people and talking. I'm there working on my car. I'm there to win. I take it very serious, and then that can come off as, man, that guy looks like he's miserable, or I'm not gonna talk to him. He looks like he's grumpy. And it can give you, just a bad rap sometimes. And we're serious. We're there to win. And, Norm's got that same, attitude with this. And I don't blame him. This racing deal is expensive. And, you go there to win, and, to run second sucks. So it's, like I said, I think it's going to be a good combo. I'm super excited, and like I said too, it's going to be really good for me as a driver to get to some different places and race twice as much, and have them guys to kind of help me out. So it'll be good.
Yeah, and I think the last couple of years, you've gone to the Sixer, and it hasn't been the best. It hasn't been the results you've been looking for. But I think running there on a weekly basis down at Grandview every week may just give you, and also with Norm's notes, he's ran his car there for years. I think it's going to give you a better shake at the Sixer coming up this year. I think that's definitely going to help.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, we've had a good car a couple times. The Sixer is just a tough deal to just show up for. If you don't pill draw well. Like even this year, I didn't pill draw very well. All the heat races are loaded. I felt like I had a pretty good car this year. But you just don't know, like going into feature time, like those guys have it figured out. They know when the top's good. They know when the bottom's good. As a driver, Grandview is just kind of one of those places. It just seems like the knowledge means more than, as a driver, the knowledge you have of, where to be on the racetrack at what time just seems to be so much greater than it is at other places, that it's tough to just kind of show up there for that one race a year and expect to run, top 5 and even top 10, honestly, because of the field of cars that are there. It's just, it's tough to do.
Yeah. That's definitely the case down there. It's kind of one of those things where, you can go to any track and you can watch a couple of regular weekly shows and go, oh yeah, it seems like the same kind of guys are always up towards the front. But Grandview's the one where it's amazing how, because, they invert, I think 15 or 16, depending on car count. And that's a deep invert. A lot of tracks are 12, or a lot of traveling series are 12, but they do 15 to 16, and you got to get your way through the front. But somehow it seems like the very few familiar faces are always up there at the end. And it's like, knock on wood, you can't avoid a pile up in front of you. You can't tell me that you randomly just cut a tire or something just happens to go wrong. But those few guys always get through it and always end up there. And it's like, they must figure this track out that well that they avoid those oddball kinds of things somehow.
Yeah. Like I said, I've been studying a lot because, you just, as a driver, that's the type of thing that you need to do in the off season, and watching lots of videos. And like I said, I've really picked up on, like, there's just, and I'm that way at New Egypt. I've been there for so long that I know where you need to be, when the track's a little bit dusty, if that top, if it ain't top dominant in New Egypt, you better be on the bottom coming off the 2 on a restart. Like I know that's, and most of the guys know that, and that's like where you have to be. And if you get nudged up off the bottom or miss the bottom, you lost 2 or 3 spots, and that's a big deal. And I've been watching videos at Grandview, and I can see, like in the heat races and stuff like that, how guys maneuver and how they, how they're able to do that. Like you said, like just pick their way to the front. And sometimes it doesn't look like they're going anywhere. It doesn't look like they're going anywhere. And all of a sudden they're there, So
yeah, it's freaking weird. And it's almost like they get runs like sprint cars do. A sprint car can pick up a lot of time and distance in a really short amount of time. Modifieds don't tend to do that on a regular basis, but those guys, it's like, where the hell they come from? It's so strange. But like you said, and you bring up a good point, turns 1 and 2 at New Egypt. That is one of the trickiest turns on dirt that I can really think of because it's so unique. And as much of what goes on, I mean, we always see someone will get turned around. Or like you said, if you're not on the bottom when you should, when you should be, or on the top when you should be, you can easily get shuffled back a lot, at New Egypt. How was it learning that? I mean, did it take you a long time to figure that out?
Yeah, I feel it's funny. I've always been, everybody knows me as like gasser type and all that stuff. In the last couple of years, I feel like I've really roped that in, and been a little, taken I still have the hammer in me, and I can get around the top of 3 or 4 guys in a restart if I feel like that's where I need to be, and go for it, and just be aggressive. And but I also have that knowledge telling me when I'm going down into 1 on a restart, hey, that top lane ain't going to work. That you can see guys sliding up there or something, and you just know as a driver that you just, even if there's a guy in front of you, you better just stay on the bottom and ride it out. And you end up picking up a couple cars just being a little less aggressive and a little more knowledgeable and patient behind the wheel. And like I said, I feel like the last couple of years I've really gotten a lot more patient, and it comes down to equipment too. We've really stepped up our equipment program the last couple of years. Not that I ever really ran junk, but compared to what we have now, we've never really had this good of equipment, and that always helps. Just having good stuff, it allows you as a driver to not push it as hard every lap and really be on the edge. Like sometimes it just it calms you down knowing that you have a good car and you're going to get to the front. And you don't have to, pick the car up, put it on your back, and carry it to the front per se. So
yeah. So you said that you got into go-karts when you were 9. Now your dad's pretty well involved in the dirt scene. Is that where you pick up a lot of your knowledge? Like when you were younger, did he lend a lot of that information to you?
Like I said, he really wasn't, he's not good with the cars or anything. Strictly a motor guy. I've learned a lot of motor knowledge from him and grew up as a young age. It was my job to, every motor that came back customer wise, it was my job to strip them all down and take them apart and, put all the parts up and stuff like that. So mechanically wise, like just working on things, I learned a lot from him. Getting things fixed up, but car wise, and chassis wise, setup wise, I've learned a lot of that on my own, just, trying to surround myself with the right people and, just be a sponge and absorb as much as I can, throughout the years. My dad's always been there, somebody to lean on. He's really good at fixing stuff, fixing broken things. And, he's always seems to have a plan for getting things fixed up. So he's definitely taught me a lot in that area of it. But at the same time, like I said, I've learned a lot of it on my own. And like I said earlier, it's good that I've learned it that way because you seem to take more with you when you've worked hard for it and learned a lot on your own. It seems to stick better, and you end up knowing what you need, and you have more feel for the cars and stuff like that. So it's worked out good for me so far.
So once you went through the go-kart phase of things, what was your next step up to getting to where you are?
Yeah, so I ran karts up until like 2006, and then we got hooked up with a family friend of ours who bought me a sportsman car, and I ran the rookies at New Egypt in 2007, and I ran a couple times. I think I was allowed to run like 3 races at the end of the year in 2006. We went to Diamond a couple times and ran there because I wasn't old enough to race in Jersey yet. Ran at Diamond a few times and then ran the rookies in 2007. Like I said, I went right from karts, jumped right into the sportsman cars, and only ran like a handful of years in the sportsman. Went away to college and then came back and pretty much moved right into big blocks when I came back from school. So I never even won a sportsman race. We really didn't run sportsman enough to to get any wins or anything like that, and other than the rookie wins that I got at New Egypt, and moved right into big blocks at New Egypt, and that seemed to suit me pretty good, and I did really well in the big blocks. Won 2 races in 2012, my first full year of running big blocks. So it was just kind of one of them things. We jumped right into it.
So when you went off to college, you didn't race at all when you were in school?
I ran karts when I was out there. I kind of just to keep myself busy. I bought my own go-kart stuff and ran out there, and it was kind of too tough to do anything else. Helped a lot of guys run some bigger cars out there, and just tried to stay sharpened up. And I came back a couple times and ran for a guy named Joe Bauman. He let me run his car probably 2 or 3 times while I was back home, and got teamed up with him for a little while there. Ran some sportsman stuff too when I came back, and like I said, then went right into the big block stuff.
Oh, okay. So you didn't necessarily disappear for your entire college career. You just laid off a little bit and just raced whenever you could. But
yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, you are the only one in New Egypt history to win the rookie and to win the big boy championship. Am I right?
Yeah. They actually, I didn't even know that that was the case, and they I think it was Nick Leach brought that up to me, or Nick or Pete brought it up to me when they were interviewing me after we won the championship down there. They said that, so that's pretty cool, to be one of those guys, and I hope that it keeps the younger generation of drivers, thinking about stuff like that. That it is possible to, I consider myself, I've been a small team for a while now, just one car and a couple different motor combinations maybe, and we've ground it out and made our way from winning the rookie championship all the way to winning a modified championship. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I think the funniest part about that interview was you actually didn't know what it paid to win the title.
Yeah, well, they lied to me about that too. So I don't even know if we should go there. You're gonna get me all riled up now.
I thought it was funny because I knew of the outcome after the fact. So yeah. I had to throw that in there for you. But
we knew it was going to be less, and I understand that. As a business owner, last year was really tough to to pay out what they were expecting to pay, and I was a little aggravated because every other racetrack it seemed like paid their normal purse. We did get pretty much just shy of just over 50% of the races in, so I felt like it should have been at least 50% of 10 grand. But,
right. Yeah, I think that happened at Orange County too, because I think they were guaranteeing 25,000 to win, and I think they ended up hitting a snag too because of being shut down and everything like they had. So yeah, it's tough. I dealt with it, with some of my sponsors last year, some of these smaller businesses, I get it, and I kept them on the car and just to try to help them out, because I felt like everybody's struggling, so we might as well try to get things built back up here after the virus knocked everything back down. The same thing with the tracks, I understood it. We kind of discussed it. I think it was a couple races in, they discussed that, there was going to be a point fund. They just weren't sure how much it was going to be. So, it is what it is. I was just, as an owner, I was a little bit disappointed. I was hoping it was going to be something a little bit more than what it was. But, like I said, it is what it is. We can't be too greedy in this sport. It was, like I said, it meant more to me that, we finally did it. And, we got the championship. We've been really close the last couple of years. And last year I felt like I had a better, I would say 2019, I think it was, felt like I had a better shot at winning it than even I did this year. A lot of people say that, it was kind of handed to me this year, but it is what it is, and I kind of feel the same way too. I want to race it out with people and not have, certain things happen, but, it's racing, you got to, everything's got to go your way, and it's gone not our way enough. So we'll take it however we can get it. Oh yeah. I mean, you can't you can't take away the victory because of the unfortunate circumstances that happened to Billy. I mean, it's the same thing as if your football team wins the big game against the backup QB. Well, it's the backup QB. That's not your fault. It's one of those types of things, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I felt like we kind of backed it up there by going back, for the All-Star Cup and winning that, and that being my first big win of my New Egypt career. We've seemed to let the big races get away from us too, the last couple of years. So, it is what it is. And like I said, we'll take them how we can get them. I felt like the year before I had the same type of issues as Pouch had this year. Other hospitalization, he had flats and mechanical issues and stuff like that leading races, and that was kind of how our 2019 was. We had a bunch of flats in the beginning of the year, and just silly things happen. I honestly think I had a piece of dirt come up and break my fuel pump off in 2019, and that's what pretty much cost us the championship. Was that night was the only night that I really had a DNF. It happened on the last lap coming to the checkered, and I finished 19th that night. And that was really all the points were lost on that night. And, it was tough. So,
well, then you tried to give it away this past year too, didn't you?
Yeah. It was, it seemed like in the middle of the year there, it wasn't me giving it away. Nobody could pass down there. And it was really tough for anybody to come from the back. Even me and Pass Jr., we were scratching our way to fifth, sixth, barely seventh and eighth some weeks in midsummer there. And just how the handicapping works, that's such a big deal anymore. Even if you're starting 2 rows ahead of somebody who's just as fast as you, it's that means everything. That's the make or break deal, to get you to the front over getting yourself to mid packet stuff some nights.
But you had an issue. Wasn't it championship night? You had an issue where you had to switch something out?
Yeah. It's funny. We went through everything really, really good that week. And I don't know if when we were rebuilding we kind of went through our fuel pump because last year we were using alcohol the last half of the year there. So we went through everything really good just to make sure we weren't going to have any problems. And I don't know if we missed something when we put the fuel pump back together, but we were having some fuel issues and really chasing ourselves around and trying to get it fixed after warm-ups there, and had to go out in a couple of sportsman heat races to try to get my stuff running right. And it was just one of them deals. I've always said it feels like I have a black cloud following me around my whole racing career. Every time I'm in a position to win or something like that, something crazy happens, it seems like. So that was felt like that was the little black cloud popping its head up.
Well,
luckily it didn't get me. But
the cool part of the whole story, though, for anyone that's listening doesn't know, is Mikey Butler, who did finish second you in the points, right? He came over and was helping you try to get everything fixed.
Yeah, me and Mikey, we've pretty much been, and me and all the Butlers, we've been like brothers our whole lives. We've been friends since we were little kids, and we've always tried to help each other out as much as we can. And it was funny because I felt like most of the nights last year, Mikey had a better car than me. And the year before, he had come back to New Egypt and to decide to run modifieds full time at New Egypt. And was looking for a little bit of help, and I pretty much fed him everything I was doing to be successful down there. And then he started beating me, and I'm like, shit, now I'm in trouble, and it started becoming like, we pretty much had to race really hard with each other all this past year. And we've always tried to help each other out. Like I said, me and him are like brothers, man. And same thing with his brother Clay. We always try to help each other out and try to be as successful and work together like that. And his car owner, his father-in-law, Short Load Dave, Short Load Concrete, he's been a huge part of my success the last 4 or 5 years with both mine and Craig's car. He really helps to make sure that we can do these races right, and get everything that we need and not have to worry as much about funding. He's a great guy, and he helps us out a ton.
Oh, that's always good to see. Yeah, I didn't realize that you guys were that close, but it was kind of one of them feel-good stories to hear that the guy who finishes runner-up is actually helping the guy who wins the championship the night of, which is kind of that's a really cool story because there's always going to be rivalries in this sport, and I mean even you and Billy Jr. You guys talk a whole lot too, and it's cool to see that there's camaraderie that goes around along with being able to be competitive at the same time.
Yeah. We all try to work together. We're in this racing deal, and we know we got to race each other every week, and we're not going to cut each other any slack when we're out there racing each other. But at the same time, like I said, I pretty much helped Mikey, get going at New Egypt, a couple of years ago, and Dave's helped me, so we all try to help each other and just try to be as successful as we can.
Yeah, that's one thing that getting to be a part of, a weekly program like I am and like you are, you get to see those kinds of things, and it's good to know it's not so cutthroat as people may think it is. I mean, yeah, there's been guys who dislike each other and still do to this day, but for the most part, guys are willing to lend a helping hand as much as they are able to, as time allows, of course. But no, it's always a good thing to see. You mentioned Craig's car, so the Pondish owned number 6. It seemed like for a while there, you guys were having a lot of issues, and I feel like that actually was there before you hopped in the car. But over, I'm going to say the last year, it looks like things are really starting to come together. I mean, you had the heat win at Port, which was a huge thing. How's that working out for you?
Yeah, it's been awesome. We've been working really, really hard. Craig's got great equipment, and he's got some really good motors, and we've switched to Bicknell cars, and that's been a big help too. Just keeping us up front. And like I said, it's not, the results aren't as good as I want them to be, but looking at it from an outside point of view, every race I take his car to is like the best of the best. You got, there's 40 cars there that can win the race, and to run in the top 5, and like you said, I pretty much I consider that qualifier win at Port Royal, that was like a feature, so that was a big deal, like you said. And we've been really, getting closer with his car to being, a top Northeast modified team, and like I said too, it's felt really good. Like I said, we really built on that and tried to, get his stuff running as good as we can get it, and keep it up front.
So when you take over that ride from Wade was in it before you, so you go down there, you meet with Craig and Leslie or whatever, and how do you, as a driver, you have all this knowledge and you kind of have to point out some things that may make their program better, but in the same sense, it's kind of this may have been why it wasn't successful before. How do you approach that situation the right way without kind of pointing out flaws, but at the same time, you're trying to make things better?
Yeah, it's tough sometimes, and they have to deal with the same type of thing, with switching drivers. I'm sure there was times where I let them down. I was leading a race at Bridgeport on the 3/8 mile, back, it was probably the first year I started driving for them, and it was kind of a mechanical issue, but I kind of just dumped it leading all by myself. We had a tire lock up on a part on the front end of the car that we were, trying something different, trying to get the car better, and it spun me around in front of everybody, but I'm sure to everybody else it just looked like I spun out leading all by myself and felt like we gave one away. So it's tough sometimes. You gotta I pretty much just hopped in his stuff, and he had really good equipment when I first started driving for him right off the bat. And we were pretty much running top 10 in a lot of the short track super series races as soon as I started driving for him. And we've slowly kind of built things up, and like I said, we made it a chassis change, and that helped quite a bit. And just keeping things fresh and trying to get some newer motors and stuff like that, just to make sure that stuff is up to par and not not breaking. So it's been they're awesome people, man. And I tell people this all the time, and Wade can attest for this too. They're like family to me now. They're such good people that I just I try real hard to run as good as I do in my own car. In their car, I treat it like my own, and try not to tear it up. And they're awesome people. They give me everything that I need to be able to run up front in a lot of these big races that we go to. So it's they've been awesome.
Have you in your years of running this short track Super Series, have you ventured up north up into the New York tracks at all?
Yeah, I've been to 5 Mile Point a couple times. I ran pretty good at Afton with Craig and Leslie's car. I think it was not last year, the year before, for the short track Super Nationals. We were running in the top 5 there. Won the dash, so we ran really well there. And then I think it was the year I won the Coal Cracker. I took my car up to Thunder Mountain for the short track Super Nationals. Ran pretty good at Thunder Mountain. So I've been to a couple of those tracks. It's probably been probably almost 10 years now. I went to Brewerton one time, like 10 years ago. It was my first year running big blocks. I took my big block car up to Brewerton.
How was that?
It was good, actually. I mean, I didn't know shit back then. Not that I know anything now, but I was really green with that stuff. I was actually I won a race at New Egypt that made me a guaranteed starter for the Hurricane 100. So
nice.
I went up, and I started like 4th in my heat, and I ran, I think, in the top 2 or 3 in my heat race, and then the track got slick. So I made a couple laps in the feature and ended up pulling off just because we had no idea what we were getting into. Those places are so slick up there, and like I said, that was my first year running a big block, and we just we pretty much had no clue, and we struggle a little bit. But that was kind of the furthest up in New York I've been. I want to really try to get to Fonda this year. Now that Brett's running it, that looks like that place would suit me really well. So I'd like to get up there and try to branch out a little bit and try to do some more traveling.
I tell people all the time, I've been there twice. I love Fonda. I love the shape of the track. It's so awesome. Just if you go up there and you have a chance to sit in the grandstands and just watch whatever it is, sit in turn 4 and just watch them make that 90-degree left-hand turn. It's awesome.
Yeah. It seems like I've been really good on like the 5/8 mile at Bridgeport, and those big sweeping type of tracks. It seems to suit me really well. So I think it would fit me well. I think I would do good at a place like that. So like I said, it's on my bucket list. I want to go up there and try it. And like I said, this year may be the year. We'll see. So
you don't really have a whole lot of experience on Hoosiers then?
I pretty much have none other than my rookie season at New Egypt. We ran Hoosiers that year. They were dirt sanctioned that year. So my first year at New Egypt running Sportsman, I ran Hoosiers, and that was about it. Honestly, I don't think I've ran them other than running the Turkey Derby at Wall Stadium.
Oh, that's right. You've ran asphalt. I forgot about that.
Other than running them on asphalt, I don't think I don't have any experience on them, honestly.
So how was running Wall Stadium in the Turkey Derby?
I think it's a blast. I mean, that's probably I not that we're going to probably do it ever again in the near future, but that was one of the races I looked forward to, and racing for Horton and them guys. It was a good time and a lot of fun, and it was one of them races we just looked forward to going and doing. It's something different. Wall's a pretty cool track, and we had a blast running there. But that's kind of the only Hoosier experience I have. And that's pretty much you bolt the oldest tires with the most tread on them, so they last the longest, and try not to burn them off before lap 50.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how Hoosiers are on dirt too. I mean, most of the tracks up north get, like you said, they get slicked off, and the opportunities that you would have to run them are probably going to be more of the long distance races anyway. So it's definitely going to get slicked off, and it's just a tire conservation kind of thing. But I think that's where those guys that run those longer distance races on a regular basis translate more when they come down and run, Brett stuff, and they run a 200 lapper, or they run, a 50 or 100 lap or whatever it may be. I think that's where it translates better for them because they're used to playing the conservation game.
Yeah. Like I said, going back to what I was talking about earlier, trying to be more patient this year and just being a little less aggressive. Like it's the longer races seem to be clicking a little bit better for me now. I was kind of bummed that we didn't, get to finish the 200 lapper at Port Royal. We had and just one of them freak things, and kind of took us out of contention there. But winning the 100 lapper at New Egypt and winning the coal cracker that one year, it seems like the last couple of years I've been starting to get a little bit better at these long distance deals and knowing how to pace myself and when to go and when to not go and when to kind of save your stuff, like you were saying. So it's definitely a totally different game than the normal 30, 40, 50 lappers.
Yeah, I think it's going to take some getting used to, especially, some of the younger guys that are now out there winning races as, the times are changing kind of thing. But, the perfect practice for it is running a 200 lapper at a place like Port Royal, where it's not 50 laps on a bull ring, it's 200 laps on a half mile. And you're putting it, that's 100 miles you got to run. That's a long distance for anybody. But, there were a bunch of guys that I was very surprised in their longevity, and they were able to be patient and not necessarily try to get to the front as quickly as possible and just kind of meticulously work their way to the front. And you've definitely had that. I can see it, watching you race as much as I have. I can see there's a huge difference in the person that was running the coal cracker back in 2018. And it's only going to make you a better driver in the end.
Yeah. Like I said too, other than the expense of running those longer races, I've enjoyed it. I used to, not really like it because that didn't suit me as well. But now that I've kind of grasped it a little better, I enjoy running the longer races now. It's something fun to do. I wouldn't like to do it every week. I like how Deo does it too, having those 40 lappers, 50 lappers. Those are kind of almost tougher than the 100 lappers sometimes, because sometimes you have to pace yourself, but sometimes you can't. So those are kind of more of a crapshoot. Those 50 lappers, it seems like, over like the 100 lapper, at some point you're going to have to pace yourself, whether it's in the beginning or at the end. That's where you have to pick and choose. But sometimes those 50 lappers, you go out there and run the crap out of your stuff and, come back in with a flat tire, or, go out there and you're like, okay, it's going to wear tires, and take your time. And next thing you know, it went green the whole time and you dilly-dallied around too long and didn't pass anybody. So those 50 lappers can be tough too.
Yeah. And I think that's where races like the coal cracker and the 76er have gotten even tougher, because the fuel stop is no longer there. It's all green. So it's, now when do I go? Now I can't just limp around for half the race and see where everything's shaked out and then go. No, you might not get that opportunity. So it's gotten a little bit tougher. But no, I think you're going to have a good year. I think, like I said before, I think this whole deal with you and Norm is going to pan out for the better for both of you, to be honest. I love talking to Norm. I talk to him every Friday. He'll come up to my table, and it is just the funniest conversation I have all week. But
that's what we've been dealing with at the shop. He's quite the jokester, and that's kind of how we are too. And we like to harass each other and have a good time. And he's it's so far so good. We haven't ran any races yet, so who knows how it's going to end up. But I could go out there and run last every week, and I'm sure neither of us would be happy with that. So. But now I think we're going to be good. We seem to really click, and Jay too. It's really good to work with someone like him. He's got a lot of knowledge, and we can bounce ideas. So he's a hardworking guy just like myself. And like I said, I think it's going to be a really good deal, and I'm excited. And it's it's not that I've completely given up my own stuff either. I'll have my car and Craig's car on the short track Super Series still. So it's good to still be able to run for Craig and keep my own car out there as well. So it all worked out really well this year.
Good. Yeah. Now, see, and that's bringing the 32 out is important after you sent everybody those damn shirts. You can't give up on the ride.
I know. That's why I ordered the shirts. I bought a new truck. I was literally signing the paperwork, buying a brand new truck when Norm and Jay called me, and I was like sitting there like, oh my God, I got too much going on right now. Just made some pretty big decisions here, and it's now I won't need any of this. It seems like so, but it's good to I got a lot of people that help me on my own car and Craig's, and same thing for the people that help Craig too. It's really good to be able to kind of balance everything out, and it's getting tougher and tougher for me to run a full schedule, race every week with my own car. And so it worked out really well what we're doing with Norm there. And, it'll be good too, having, Max, driving, giving some input too. We've been talking quite a bit, and, I think it's going to work out the best for both of us. It's always good to have, more hats in the ring, and, just try to, bounce ideas and try to get the most out of everything we can.
Absolutely. Well, before I cut you loose and let you get back to getting prepped for testing tune tomorrow, anybody you want to give some shout outs to or sponsors?
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, Short Load Concrete, Gary Septic Service, Prangle Construction, Austin. He's been a big part of my team and helping and everything. My crew guy Tommy Tanner too. Those two guys have been working their butts off on all my cars, the 6, the 32, the 357s. We've been keeping everybody busy, and got a couple new ones on my car this year too. Bank Tree and Lawn Care, Man Miller Electric. Doug Man Miller's a good friend of mine, and it'd be fun to race with him weekly at Grandview this year and park next to him. So we've been pretty close the last couple of years. So he's been a big help. And CJB Mechanical Welding, Big Race Products, Tanner Builders. There's a bunch of them that help me out here. I'm sure I'm forgetting some. Bucksmont Inspections, Jones Racing Products. I've been wearing the Joneses out lately, getting my car up to snuff for the Short Track Super Series, and CJ's been helping me out quite a bit here with getting some dry stump lines made. So I owe a lot to them. And then on Craig's car, CNS Equipment, of course, Miller Ford, and Napa Auto Parts Connection. And we hope that everything stays together and runs good this year.
Don't forget Norm's Save Station.
Oh yeah, right. Don't want to leave Norm out.
Is the car going to look the same as it did last year?
Yeah, yep. They look pretty much identical to what they did last year. So
I can't convince them to get that number back on the door.
Well, it's good advertising, man. You got to get that Norms is way more important than that 357 part. You know that. Come on.
Oh,
now.
I know. I tell them all the time. I said, "When are you going to put the number back on the door where it belongs?" Well, that's where my name goes.
That's something different. I think it looks cool back there, with the 3-digit number, and it gives him his logo there a bigger spot on the car. So I get that. That looks cool.
Hey, and he's paying the bills, man. He puts that number wherever he wants to put it.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you get back to work. Send my hellos down to Norm and Mr. Mechanics race winner Tommy Tanner as well. But
well, he's still riding that wave. You know that.
Oh, he's gonna for years to come. Remember that one time?
Yep. Hey, you never know. He may make an appearance in the 32 car sometime this year. We'll keep that kind of under wraps. But now I put a big block engine in my own personal car to run the Short Track Super Series race with. We're having some trouble getting, this COVID thing's got everything all kind of jumbled up right now. Getting engine parts is super difficult. So Craig's good engine is big cubic inch Ford engine is not fixed yet from last year. We're still waiting on some parts for that. So I put my big block back in my car, and so we'll have 2 Short Track Super Series cars to my disposal this year. So we may have to put the old mechanics race wonder in the 32 car. See how he does with some big smoke under the hood.
Yeah, just make sure you put the training wheels on it too, because that could get ugly.
Yeah, right.
All right, buddy. I will let you get back to work. I will catch you in a week, my friend. I'll see you down in Georgetown.
Sounds good, man. I'll talk to you. Thanks a lot.
Yep, you got it. See ya.